The silent vanguard. The Seldonian battle cruiser Inevitable Victory cut through the void of space like a blade of obsidian, its massive form eclipsing the distant stars as it approached the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. Grand Admiral Kelzer stood on the command deck, his forearms clasped behind his back as he gazed at the swirling blue and green world displayed on the main view screen. Earth. The name tasted foreign on his tongue when he spoke it aloud. Such a primitive world, he remarked to no one in particular, his voice carrying the distinctive harmonic resonance of the Seldonian elite, and yet they refused our generous offer of assimilation. First Officer Nera approached, her exoskeleton clicking softly against the polished floor. The humans have always been unusual, Grand Admiral. The scout reports indicated technological capability far below our standard, yet they rejected our terms without hesitation. Kelzar's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair remained fixed on the planet. Unusual indeed. A species barely a century into their space age, with rudimentary colonies on their neighboring planets, believing they can stand against the Seldonian Imperium. A dismissive gesture with one of his left arms. We've conquered worlds with far more advanced defenses. The full invasion fleet will arrive within 6 standard hours, Nera reported. Preliminary scans indicate their planetary defense grid is active but antiquated. Their most powerful weapons are nuclear-based with limited range. Prepare a final communication, Kelzar ordered. Let us see if they've reconsidered their position now that they face extinction. In the reinforced bunker beneath Geneva, the United Earth Defense Council gathered around the circular table. The atmosphere was tense but determined, faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays, showing the approaching Seldonian armada. Commander Ilara Vale studied the tactical projections with practiced calm, though the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on her shoulders. At 46, she had spent her entire adult life in military service, rising through the ranks during Earth's unification wars. The scars on her dark skin told stories of battles won and lost, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. The main Seldonian fleet has entered the outer system, announced General Harris, his voice steady despite the news he delivered. 17 capital ships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. Secretary General Okafor nodded gravely. And Bastion Protocol. Complete, Madam Secretary, Vale replied, pulling up a secure data feed. Operation Echo is green across all parameters. The arcs are ready for immediate launch on your command. Okafor's eyes met Vale's. The survival of our species rests on this plan, Commander. Are you confident it will work? Vale held her gaze. With respect, Madam Secretary, confidence is a luxury we can't afford. What I can tell you is that we've given humanity its best chance. A communications officer interrupted. Incoming transmission from the Seldonian flagship. They're requesting an open channel. Put it through, Okafor ordered. The central hologram shifted to display Grand Admiral Kelzar, his imposing figure dominating the projection. His 4 eyes studied the humans with obvious contempt. Leaders of Earth, he began, his translator converting the complex harmonics of Seldonian speech into English. Your defenses are inadequate. Your technology is primitive. Your resistance is futile. The Seldonian Imperium offers you one final opportunity to surrender and be incorporated into our collective. Okafor stepped forward. Grand Admiral, humanity rejects your terms. We will not surrender our world or our autonomy. Kelzar's upper eyes blinked slowly. Then you have chosen extinction. We will begin planetary bombardment in 1 standard hour. Your civilization will be erased, your cities reduced to ash, your oceans boiled away. Nothing will remain of humanity but dust. The Secretary General's expression remained resolute. Perhaps, but before you commit to this course of action, we request a direct conversation between our military commanders. There are considerations you may wish to be aware of. After a moment's hesitation, Kelzar nodded. Very well. A pointless delay, but I will grant this request. The transmission ended, and all eyes turned to Commander Vale. "Are you ready, Commander?" Okafor asked. Vale nodded, her face a mask of determination. "I've been preparing for this moment since they first appeared in our system. The message is prepared." General Harris placed a hand on her shoulder. "Good luck, Ilara. Make it count." On the bridge of the inevitable victory, Kelzar waited impatiently for the human commander to establish contact. These delays were typical of primitive species, clinging desperately to their final moments. "Incoming transmission, Grand Admiral," announced the communications officer. "Display it," Kelzar ordered. The view screen shifted to show Commander Ilara Vale, her military uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's Unified Defense Force. Her expression betrayed no fear, only a calm certainty that Kelzar found slightly disconcerting. "I am Commander Ilara Vale of the United Earth Defense Force," she began without preamble. "I speak with the full authority of Earth's government." "Commander Vale," Kelzar replied, "if you intend to negotiate surrender terms—" "No, Grand Admiral," Vale interrupted. "I'm not contacting you to surrender. I'm contacting you to deliver humanity's final message." Kelzar's ridge crest rose in irritation. "You test my patience, human." 3 years ago," Vale continued, unfazed, "when our deep space arrays first detected your scout ships, we knew what was coming. We studied your previous conquests. We analyzed your patterns. We recognized what happens to species that fall under Seldonian rule." "Then you understand the futility of resistance," Kelzar stated. Vale's lips curved into a slight smile. "What we understood was that we couldn't win a conventional war against your empire. Not with our current technology and resources. But humans don't accept no-win scenarios, Grand Admiral." For the first time, Kelzar felt a flicker of unease. There was something in the human's demeanor that suggested not desperation, but confidence. "While we prepared our visible defenses," Vale continued, "we simultaneously initiated what we call the Bastion Protocol. You see, Grand Admiral, humans evolved through crisis. Our entire history is defined by our ability to adapt, to survive against overwhelming odds." "Get to the point, Commander," Kelzar demanded. "The point, Grand Admiral, is that in your arrogance, you've made a catastrophic error. You believe you're exterminating humanity today. What you're actually doing is setting our evolution into overdrive." Tactical Officer Mrev approached Kelzar, speaking in low tones. "Grand Admiral, we're detecting multiple small launches from the far side of the planet. Hundreds of them, using their moon's gravity well to accelerate." Vale continued as if she could hear the report. "Those aren't weapons, Grand Admiral. They're seeds. 342 vessels, each carrying genetic samples from tens of thousands of humans, advanced biotech, manufacturing equipment, and one directive: adapt, evolve, and remember Earth." "Intercept those ships," Kelzar ordered immediately. "You won't catch them all," Vale said with certainty. "We've been launching them in secret for months, using experimental stealth technology. Many are already beyond your sensor range. Others are designed to appear as debris or natural phenomena." Science Officer Vrel stepped forward. "Grand Admiral, preliminary scans of the launched vessels show unusual configurations. They appear to be equipped with cryogenic chambers, genetic sequencers, and quantum entanglement communicators." "You see," Vale explained, "we're not fighting to save our planet anymore. That battle was lost the moment your fleet entered our system. We're fighting to ensure our diaspora. Each ship carries the sum total of human knowledge, art, history, and science. Each is programmed to seek out the most hostile, most remote environments, places your empire would never think to look." For the first time in his 3-century career, Kelzar felt genuine concern. He had studied human history during the campaign preparation and had noted their unusual development pattern. Chaotic, unpredictable, driven by competition, rather than the controlled evolution of most advanced species. "Your species dies today, Commander Vale," Kelzar declared, pushing aside his discomfort. Vale's expression hardened. "No, Grand Admiral. Today you've taken a localized species and scattered it across the galaxy. The humans who survive will adapt to environments you can't imagine. They'll evolve capabilities you can't predict, and they will remember who destroyed their homeworld. Sensor Officer Jiv suddenly called out, "Grand Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures activating planet-wide. Unknown technology, power levels exceeding anything we've seen from them before." "It's not a weapon," Vale explained calmly. "It's a broadcast. In this moment, as your weapons prepare to fire, we're sending a quantum-entangled message to every ARC ship. The complete genetic library of Earth. Our collective knowledge. Our art. Our music. Our literature. And most importantly, the truth about what happened here today. Begin bombardment now," Kelzar roared. The inevitable victory's weapons powered up, joined by the other capital ships in the Seldonian battle fleet. Lances of destructive energy streaked toward the blue-green world below. "You should have accepted our surrender when you had the chance," Vale said, her image beginning to break up as the bombardment commenced. "Earth may fall today, but humanity's story is just beginning. And Grand Admiral, there's no coming back from this. Your fate was sealed the moment you threatened our world." As the transmission cut out and Earth began to burn beneath the Seldonian onslaught, Kelzar stared at the viewscreen, a cold realization settling in his core. The humans hadn't been fighting to win a war. They had been executing a strategy generations in the making. "Grand Admiral," First Officer Nera said quietly, "I've analyzed the transmission patterns. The quantum entanglement signal reached at least 200 vessels before we could disrupt it. The rest, we can't be certain." Kelzar watched silently as Earth's atmosphere began to boil away, the once blue planet now wreathed in fire and destruction. But even as the homeworld of humanity died, a troubling thought took root in his mind. The humans hadn't been defeated today. They had been unleashed. The rising tide. 20 standard years had passed since the fall of Earth. Grand Admiral Kelzar, now bearing the ceremonial scars of the Supreme War Commander of the Seldonian Imperium, stood before the Imperial Council in the vast chamber of Suldanis Prime. His once vibrant exoskeleton had dulled to a pale blue, and his lower left arm showed the slight tremor of advancing age. But it wasn't time that had worn him down. It was the weight of a single catastrophic miscalculation that had grown more devastating with each passing cycle. "The human situation has progressed beyond our capacity to contain," Kelzar admitted, the words bitter in his throat. "What began as isolated incidents of resistance has evolved into a coordinated insurgency across 26 sectors. Our outposts in the Viridian Reach have gone silent. The mining colonies in the Fulcandra Belt are reporting attacks by ships of unknown configuration, but bearing distinctly human energy signatures." High Counselor Zeth's ridge crest flattened in alarm. How is this possible? Their homeworld was reduced to a lifeless rock. Their colonies were systematically eliminated. Their species should be extinct. "We underestimated them," Kelzar said simply. Again. The truth had emerged slowly over the decades. The Bastion Protocol hadn't been a desperate evacuation plan as the Seldonians had initially assumed. It had been a carefully orchestrated seeding strategy, placing small groups of humans in vastly different environments across the galaxy, each equipped with the collective knowledge of their species and advanced genetic engineering technology. And then they had evolved. On the harsh radiation-bathed moons of the Scutum Centaurus arm, humans had developed radiation-resistant skin and enhanced cellular repair mechanisms. In the high-gravity worlds of the Norma arm, they had grown denser bones and more efficient cardiovascular systems. In the methane seas of the Perseum Nebula, they had engineered themselves to extract oxygen from compounds no natural organism should be able to process. The latest intelligence reports are disturbing, Kelzar continued, activating a holographic display. 17 distinct human subspecies have been identified, each adapted to environments we considered uninhabitable. They're using technologies we've never encountered before. hybridized systems that combine principles we wouldn't have thought compatible. Science Minister Vrel, who had served on Kelzer's ship during the Earth campaign, stepped forward. Most concerning is their rate of advancement. Their technological progression is occurring at approximately 5 times the standard development curve. They've somehow accelerated their innovation cycle beyond anything we've seen in any other species. And they're communicating, Kelzar added grimly. Despite the vast distances between their settlements, they're coordinating their efforts with efficiency that suggests a shared strategic objective. Defense Minister Toril slammed a fist on the council table. Then we hunt them down. We commit the full might of the Imperium to their eradication once and for all. We've tried, Kelzar replied, his voice weary. For 20 years we've tried. But they're not fighting a conventional war. They strike from shadows, using guerrilla tactics, then disappear. They've adapted to environments where our troops cannot function without extensive life support. They've developed countermeasures to our scanning technology. He paused, then activated another holographic display showing the remains of a Seldonian outpost, completely destroyed. 3 days ago, our primary military research facility in the Arcturus sector was attacked. The installation was defended by our most advanced security systems and a garrison of 5,000 elite troops. The entire facility was destroyed in less than 2 hours by a force we never even detected approaching. The only survivors were those in deep shelter research labs. High Counselor Zeth leaned forward. And what did these survivors report? Kelzar hesitated. They reported that the attackers appeared, human in basic form, but with significant modifications: enhanced musculature, reinforced skeletal structures, adaptations for low oxygen environments, and cybernetic augmentations unlike anything in our records. Before the facility was destroyed, one of our scientists managed to capture this, he added, activating a final hologram. The image showed a tall, powerfully built human female with skin that seemed to shimmer with metallic undertones. Her eyes glowed with an internal light, and visible circuitry traced patterns beneath her skin. She stood amid the bodies of Seldonian soldiers, holding what appeared to be one of their own weapons, modified and enhanced. The humans aren't just adapting biologically, Science Minister Vrel explained. They're integrating our technology with theirs, creating hybrid systems that exploit vulnerabilities we didn't know existed. Most concerning, Kelzar continued, is that our translators captured her final words before the transmission cut out. He activated the audio. Tell your leaders that this is just the beginning. Earth remembers. Commander Vale's promise is being fulfilled. There's no coming back from this. A heavy silence fell over the council chamber. Commander Vale, Kelzar said quietly, the human military leader who delivered their final message before we destroyed Earth. She said we were sealing our fate, that we had unleashed something we couldn't control. I dismissed it as the empty threat of a defeated species. He looked up at the council, his 4 eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. I was wrong. On the distant world humans had named Prometheus, nestled in the heart of what the Seldonians called the Forbidden Zones, regions of space with radiation levels too high for their species to safely navigate. The leadership of the human diaspora gathered. The command center was carved deep into a mountain of black basalt, shielded from both detection and the intense radiation that bathed the planet's surface. Here, representatives from 12 human settlements had assembled for the first in-person council in nearly 2 decades. Director Lian Chen, great-granddaughter of Secretary General Okafor, studied the tactical displays with intensity. At 34, she had never seen Earth except in historical records, yet she felt its loss like a phantom limb, a pain inherited through generations of carefully preserved memory. The Arcturus operation was successful, reported Commander Sado, his skin bearing the distinctive metallic sheen of the Helios adaptation, modifications designed for high radiation environments. We recovered significant intelligence and eliminated one of their primary weapons development centers. Casualties? Asked Dr. Imani Wright, her eyes entirely black, an adaptation to the perpetual darkness of the underground colonies on Europa Prime. Minimal, Sato replied. 3 operatives wounded, none killed. The Prometheus biotech upgrades performed beyond expectations. The Seldonians still have no effective countermeasures against our stealth technology. Lion nodded in satisfaction. And Operation Hydra. Admiral Marcus Vale stepped forward. The grandson of Commander Elara Vale carried his grandmother's features and her indomitable spirit. His body bore the marks of the Oceanus adaptation. Gills visible along his neck, webbing between his fingers, skin with a faint blue tint. The network is complete, he announced, activating a holographic display showing a web of connections stretching across the galaxy. All 17 major settlements and 34 outposts are now linked through quantum entanglement. Real-time communication is possible regardless of distance. Then we're ready for the next phase, Lion said, her voice carrying the weight of 20 years of planning. The Seldonian Empire is already destabilizing. Their supply lines are stretched thin trying to respond to our attacks. Their allied species are beginning to question the leadership. Dr. Wright inserted a data crystal into the central console, bringing up detailed schematics. The adaptive technology we recovered from Arcturus confirms our theories. The Seldonians have become technologically stagnant. They haven't developed a significant new weapons system in over a century. They've relied on overwhelming force rather than innovation. Their greatest weakness, Marcus added, is their inability to adapt. Their entire civilization is built on stability and predictability. They can't comprehend our distributed strategy because it doesn't fit their understanding of how species behave. Lion looked around the table at the assembled leaders, each changed by the environments they had adapted to, each carrying the legacy of Earth in their modified genes. 20 years ago, my great-grandmother and Commander Vale made a promise. They told the Seldonians that destroying Earth wouldn't end humanity. It would unleash us. She swept her hand over the display showing the vast network of human settlements. They were right. We've adapted to worlds the Seldonians can't even visit. We've developed technologies they can't comprehend. And now we're ready to fulfill the second part of that promise. Admiral Vale's expression hardened. The attack on Arcturus was just the beginning. We've identified 27 critical Seldonian facilities that will be targeted simultaneously in the next operation. Their defense grid is designed to respond to large-scale, conventional attacks, not the precise, coordinated strikes we've planned. And the final phase? Dr. Wright asked. Leon activated a new display showing the Seldonian homeworld, a vast, ringed planet surrounded by defense platforms and patrol fleets. Seldonus Prime, she said simply, not to destroy it. We're not like them. Our goal is to force their surrender and establish a new balance of power in the galaxy. The strikes against their key military installations will demonstrate that nowhere in their empire is safe. The operation against their homeworld will prove that their core is vulnerable. Commander Sato studied the display with a practiced eye. Their defenses are formidable. They are, Admiral Vale agreed, but they're designed to repel conventional attacks by conventional species. We are neither. He activated a secondary display showing a fleet of vessels unlike any seen before in the galaxy. Hybrid ships combining Seldonian technology with human innovation and adaptations drawn from a dozen different environments. The ships are ready. The crews are prepared. The attack groups have been briefed. We launch in 48 hours. Lion looked around at the assembled leaders, representatives of a humanity that had been forced to evolve beyond anything their ancestors could have imagined. 20 years ago, the Seldonians thought they were ending our story. Instead, they forced us to write a new chapter. She raised her hand, and the others joined her in the gesture, a human tradition preserved across the stars. For Earth, for our future. There's no coming back from this. Grand Admiral Kelzer stood on the command deck of the Seldonian dreadnought Imperial Dominance, watching as the reports of simultaneous attacks flooded in from across the Empire. 27 critical facilities struck in perfect coordination, with minimal warning and devastating effectiveness. The human vessels have broken through the outer defense grid, reported First Officer Trell, his voice tense. They're utilizing some form of phase technology that allows them to partially bypass our shield harmonics. Adaptive countermeasures, Kelzar ordered. Modify shield frequencies across all platforms. We're trying, Grand Admiral, but they're changing their attack patterns faster than our systems can adjust. It's as if they're anticipating our responses before we implement them. A massive impact rocked the dreadnought, sending several officers sprawling. Damage reports flashed across multiple screens. Direct hit to our primary weapon array, Trell announced. Engineering reports critical damage to power distribution systems. We've lost 30% of our offensive capability. Kelzar steadied himself against a console, watching as the elegant formations of Seldonian defenders were systematically dismantled by the smaller, faster human vessels. Their attack patterns defied conventional logic, seeming chaotic at first glance, but revealing the deeper, more fluid strategy when viewed as a whole. Incoming transmission, called the communications officer. It's on all frequencies, overriding our encryption. Put it through, Kelzar ordered. The main view screen shifted to show a human female with the distinctive features of the administrative caste. Lion Chen, according to intelligence reports. Beside her stood a male with the unmistakable features of the Vale bloodline. Grand Admiral Kelzar, Lion began, her voice calm and measured. 20 years ago, you destroyed our homeworld after being warned of the consequences. Today, those consequences have arrived at your doorstep. What do you want? Kelzar demanded. To destroy our world as we destroyed yours. Is that your vengeance? Marcus Vale stepped forward. If we wanted your world destroyed, Grand Admiral, it would already be burning. Unlike you, we don't believe in genocide. We're offering you a choice, the choice you never gave us. Surrender, Lion continued. Acknowledge the sovereignty of human space. Establish diplomatic relations with the human diaspora as equals, not conquerors. Agree to reparations for Earth and our lost colonies. Or, Kelzar asked, though he already knew the answer. Or we continue this war, Marcus replied simply. Not as a species fighting for survival, but as 17 distinct human civilizations, each adapted to environments you cannot survive in, using technologies you cannot counter, coordinated through networks you cannot intercept. Another impact shook the ship, more alarms blaring across the command deck. 2 more defense platforms have been neutralized, Trell reported grimly. The human fleet is advancing toward the inner system. Planetary defense is requesting immediate reinforcement. Kelzar stared at the humans on the screen, finally understanding the full magnitude of his error 20 years earlier. The Seldonians had evolved through careful planning and controlled environments, each adaptation precisely calculated for optimal results. They had created an empire built on stability and order. The humans had evolved through crisis and catastrophe, their entire history defined by adaptation to changing circumstances and impossible odds. And when faced with extinction, they had transformed that adaptive capacity into a weapon more powerful than any fleet. You should have accepted our surrender when you had the chance, Lion said, echoing the words of Commander Vale 2 decades earlier. But it's not too late to prevent further bloodshed. The choice is yours, Grand Admiral. As Kelzar looked at the tactical displays showing the systematic dismantling of the Seldonian defense network, the impregnable shield that had stood for 1,000 years, he recognized the inevitable truth. The humans hadn't just survived. They had transformed destruction into opportunity, adversity into advantage, extinction into evolution. Open a channel to the Imperial Council, he ordered quietly. Prepare to stand down all defense systems. As the order was relayed, Kelzar looked back at the humans on the screen. Descendants of a world he had reduced to ash, representatives of a species he had attempted to eradicate. There's a saying among my people, he said finally. The greatest warrior is not the one who conquers a world, but the one who recognizes when a battle cannot be won. Leon nodded, a look of solemn satisfaction crossing her face. And among ours, Grand Admiral, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. The transmission ended, leaving Kelzar to contemplate the profound truth in those words as the human fleet took position around Suldanis Prime, not to destroy, but to bear witness to the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. A chapter written by a species that had transformed attempted genocide into the catalyst for their greatest evolution. A reminder to all civilizations that would come after. There's no coming back from underestimating humanity.